Understanding the Constitution in the Spanish language is a big thing to do. Most of the people don't normally have any strong background in language. The language of you use in a constitution can be very well interpreted in a different sense. A comma or a dot can make an entire change of a meaning of a phrase of a sentence. Therefore, when it comes to promoting the different alternative of this referendum, has been very, very difficult because on one side we have the left party who are saying we have to approve this, this is important, this is moving forward, this is progressing, and this is far much better than the constitution who was written in the 1980, written by Pinochet, with closing door, with no proper people's consultation, with no democracy under dictators. And even though most of those arguments are correct and right, one truth to be told is that from the 80s up until 2019, our country's economical growth was massive, at least compared to the rest of South America. Chile has shown the immense amount of people who developed themselves in many ways. Huge capital foreign investors have come to this country to bring money because it was in terms of economical a safe country. The country itself is very safe. If you compare Chile with the rest of South American countries, police used to be far more respected than the rest of our brother countries. And that is because during dictators, police have a lot of power that at some point they abuse. I'm talking about the way how they treat people, and I'm talking about police brutality here. After we changed regime and this country came back to democracy in 1998, police lowered down their rhythm and they started behaving in the proper manners, let's say, in the matter of speaking. And for the last 20, 30 years, you could walk around the streets in Chile feeling safe compared to the rest of the cities in South America. Crime has been an issue in cities like Bogotá, Brasilia, Buenos Aires, and in Santiago, it's relatively safe, or it used to be. All this, it's an undeniable truth. And our 80s constitution was written by people who were constituent by profession, lawyers, and it's a very well written document. Not to mention that in 1995, Ricardo Lagos rewrote the constitution and did several changes to it with the approval of Congress. If you look at the current constitution, you will see Ricardo Lagos' signature in it. So it is just a way for the leftists to provoke to say this is Augusto Pinochet constitution and we want to change it just because it was written during the dictator. And again, this is true. But what is also truth is that the document they have delivered to us the 4th of July 2022 have several issues. As for education, safety, pension, it has a lot of rights and things that it cannot be fulfilled. the cost of implementing this new constitution is far more than this country earned in years, and it's almost impossible to implement. It increased the amount of public, say, politicians and bureaucrats. It destroyed the Senate as it is. It lowered the power of the president. It extends presidential terms. No, I'm sorry. At the moment, president, after 4 years, the president is not allowed to run. Therefore, you will always be running opposite someone who is not a president. And 4 years later, you can run again. You can become president in Chile 3 times if you want, if you're young enough to do it, as long as you don't run 2 times continuously. But in this time, after 4 years, a president can run again the same way as it happens in countries like Indonesia or United States. Therefore, when the president goes to run for a second term, the opposite uh, candidate will be competing with the president, and that affects our democracy considering the current president would have all the government workers, people, and resources to campaign. Therefore, in the last 6 months of this presidency, we don't expect from the president, who obviously becomes a legal candidate, to do much for our country because he's running for another term. And it's also a way to run into several corruption cases. I'm not saying there is any, but it could be. That is another of the many, many mistakes our new proposal has. Therefore, and during the process of written, a lot of things happens that makes people angry or offended. Things like at some point the constituent whistle against singing our national anthem. Many of them were seen doing not very political correct behavior. During the vote, there was a guy voting in the shower. There was a man waltzing into the ceremony dressing like a dinosaur. They took over 3 months just writing the regulations of the new constitution before start writing the text. One of the first things they did when they became constituent, they vote to raise their own salary in nearly 35%, and a bunch of other behavior that we've seen during this process that gave people the sense of this is not doing right, they are not here to do what they were meant to do, they are becoming everything they talk against, and people became very upset about that, and also about the text itself. We have a weekly post called Cadem and some other companies who do